Hello everyone and welcome back to game week 2 of the 25-26 Slater and Gordon Championship, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, for the action of Altrincham against Teesside Steel. Let's bring you the squads before the live action. Altrincham comprised of the following. Jack Johnson is not present today, but I'm reliably informed that he will be tomorrow. So that leaves them with Jack Hassan, Dan Holt, Jake Hudson, Joey Levine and Mason Davies. And for Teesside Steel, they have the following. Charlie Connolly not present, so they've got Jamil Khan, Thomas Met, Isaac Murray and Oscar Mulgrew, just the 4 players, so a very thin squad. Definitely a title challenger, but they have faltered slightly in the 25-26 campaign, certainly with the high standards they've already set. Let's show you the live league table so you can see how things shape up. Villa, Rockets, Lions currently top the table with 16 points from their 7 games played. Nottinghamshire, however, do have 2 games as an advantage. If they win those both, they will have a fairly comfortable cushion. Norwich City, likewise, a game in hand over Villa, Rockets, Lions. Should they win that, they will once again leapfrog Villa. For Altrincham, coming off the back of 3 points earlier today, a win for them would take them on to 12, so they would bypass Teesside Steel and Manchester United in the standings. So just 2 points separate these two, but Teesside Steel have played a game fewer. Quickly referencing the top goal scorers, you can see how things are shaping up. Kieran Wade and Tanvir Hussain on 9 apiece. Mason Davies sitting at the bottom with 3. So thank you all tuning in. Altrincham versus Teesside Steel, game week 2 of the Slater and Gordon Championship. Teesside coming off the back of a 0-0 draw with Manchester United. As mentioned, Altrincham carrying some momentum into this one. It should be a fantastic game, actually. Was really excited to call the action for this one. GBG Saracen, sorry, and Baggies on court. Another fantastic game there. I can imagine that one will be brilliant. Both have struggled slightly, but both have the squads to really excite. As always, get your comments in the chat. Predictions. And I will endeavour to read them out, but overall, early pressure there. Thomas Met attacking that back post as he so often does. Oscar Mulgrew in the centre. So to go through the squads in their entirety. Jake Hudson, Mason Davies, Jack Hassan and Joey Levine. Isaac Murray, Oscar Mulgrew, Thomas Met and Jamil Khan. Dead ball specialist, has responsibility just out a shot, fired into the box. Oscar Mulgrew attacks, and that is a fantastic goal. Clinical, and already a minute in, they've opened the scoring. Altrincham are known for their defensive solidity and compactness, but they were just pulled apart there. I said that Jamil Khan was that dead ball specialist, and you're seeing why. He can hit a dead ball better than most, not just in this division, but in the National League as a whole. Fantastic player. And that's exactly what Teesside Steel would have wanted, having gone a whole game earlier without being able to break the stubborn deadlock of Manchester United. Thomas Met trying to push it into the path of Jamil Khan. It's almost as if they're trying to take out their frustration from earlier results and ensure come the conclusion of game week 2 they've got maximum or as many points as possible. Worth noting there is now a 3-month gap between game week 2 and game week 3. Jack Hassan, that is a really unfortunate own goal as Isaac Murray looks up to the ceiling. It all comes from the power, the accuracy of Jack Hassan, and a minute after they managed to open the scoring, Altrincham have brilliantly equalised. Let's get confirmation of that. Own goal from Isaac Murray as Thomas Met nearly went over the line. This is end-to-end stuff here at the Lee Westwood Sports Centre. 3 minutes in, Altrincham 1, Teesside Steel 1. I'm now delighted to be joined on commentary by Nick Woodward. How are you, sir?
Afternoon. Sorry for being slightly late. We had a first in thousands of Powerchair games. We had a spider in the camera.
I've been reliably informed that Courtby had a
visitor.
A visitor. I'm not sure if you've caught the first few minutes of this. It has been frantic, fiery. It was a brilliant opening goal. Just trying to understand what the decision is. I think so, apologies for that. Just had a conversation with Paul Yates, our official. Mason Davis has seen red. He had left the court in prevention of a clear goal scoring opportunity. Really unfortunate. It's not something that Paul Yates would have wanted to do. It's a rule that many people disagree with, but it is in the laws of the game that if a player, an outfield player, does go over that touch line to prevent the goal, the referee has no choice. The thing I don't like about it, Nick, is the double jeopardy involved. You've got the red card and the penalty, and Oscar Mulgrew makes no mistake dispatching from the spot, and you will find very few games that throw up this much action this early on. I feel so sorry for Mason Davies. He is an incredible player and he will be kicking himself. We just haven't had a second to settle. It's got an end-to-end, 3 goals in 5 minutes, a red card. And you would say now, just due to the importance of Mason Davies playing in that central role, that it will be a metaphorical mountain for Altrincham to climb now. Teesside, you would expect to be very much in the ascendancy and extend this goal margin even more. Mason Davies does have to leave the court, which is what they're doing at the moment. He has to leave the Lee Westwood Sports Centre. That is at the rules of receiving a red card, so he's just going to be told by Paul Yates to exit. Wow, what a start.
Yeah, that... I can't think of a harsher rule in sport.
No, I fundamentally disagree with it. I understand there needs to be some punishment, there needs to be some jeopardy involved with that passage of play or that intention, because some people will use it to their advantage. But for the most part, whenever I've seen them, whether it's here or international events, sometimes that defensive player, that defensive outfield player gets so locked in on the ball, they disregard their placement almost. There is no intentional manipulation of the rules, but that is the rules. So yeah, Altrincham 1, Teesside Steel 2, just 6 minutes in, and
that's a suspension.
It's a one-game suspension.
So I can't. Yeah, so at least they've only got 5 players, so all 4 have to be, and I'm not sure about the
No, I think we're fine because Jack Hassan and Jake Hudson are both PF1 classified players, so it wouldn't affect them in terms of fielding 3 or 4. But from a quality point of view, massively has an impact. Just trying to look at Altringham's third game. That falls against GBG Saracens later today at 4:30, and that's a game they would have gone in with very high hopes of getting 3 points from. So intriguing to see how that manifests.
At the top of the table, Villa Rockets and Nottinghamshire have got massive goal differences already, so Teesside are going to want to capitalise on this, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
if they can.
I mean, they've already dropped points this weekend, certainly when you have title aspirations. That 0-0 draw with Manchester United earlier today, so maybe they're taking out some frustration here, and this now with 3-player Altrincham presents an opportunity to get a really positive accumulation of goals, because as you've mentioned, Nottinghamshire, I think they've scored 23 or 24 goals without reply in their 5 or 6 games. A remarkable record. Villa Rockets, Lions likewise have a really great accumulation. So, but referencing Teesside last season, Teesside Steel, sorry, they've never been one to score like a huge amount of goals. A lot of their wins come from fine margins, compact defences. And Altrincham are really struggling to get their shape here. And almost a needless 2-on-1 with Jake Hudson coming out the box. But when you switch a Joey Levine, who's typically that high and wide winger, into a more prominent role, almost a baptism of fire, certainly against the likes of Teesside Steel. Jamil Khan fires it into Thomas Metis, squeezes it through the gap. 2-on-1 though, prior to the goal going over the line. Good officiating, but we go back to Jamil Khan's set-piece delivery. It's absolutely fantastic.
Sometimes I think the 2-on-1's too much, but they're definitely it was Mulgrew, wasn't it, was distracting the other players as he came in. That was a deliberate dummy. Shame, a great finish by Met. Well, he didn't have much room there.
He'll be itching to get on the score sheet, as he always does. As it's just flicked into Jake Hudson. Isaac Murray, beyond that very unfortunate own goal, has been nothing more than a spectator. As Jake Hudson and Thomas Met just collide with one another off the ball. Hudson into Levine. It's a little bit complacent there, just giving possession back to Oscar Mulgrew. And that's a really unfortunate goal. It all came from Joey Levine. You cannot give Oscar Mulgrew the time, the space in the centre. His distribution is second to none. He fired over to Jamil Khan, and they just couldn't shift their momentum from one side to the other. So it was a brilliant goal, but could have very easily been cut out had Altrincham just be a little bit more alert.
Tough now for Altrincham, just a quarter of the way in through the match, and it's already 3-1 down to 3 players.
Yeah, it's the question I would ask the coaches now is, how do they approach it? Do they look to minimise the damage, stay compact, or do they throw caution to the wind and look to attack the game but understand the associated risks of leaving their defence in a threatening position?
I mean, they're looking, where you look at them in the table, 7th with this result. Letting a load of goals in probably won't be terrible in the wrong. And so do you play your attacking game against the best teams and give it a go? Mason
Davies, he joined me on commentary a few games ago, so it was fantastic to get his insight into his intentions for him himself personally and the team collectively. And I think he acknowledges that they're not going to be one that challenges towards the top, towards automatic promotion or even that playoff position, but they're no threat of relegation or the jeopardy spots. They're in a bracket in the middle where they can experiment, then they can almost throw caution to the wind They'll give every team in the division a really competitive game.
So I think from their perspective, you can almost write this off and just treat it as some training, can't you? Because you're playing a very good set of players.
Exactly that.
How well can you do? And accept there might be a few gaps.
Jamil Khan through the gap. Thomas Met unopposed at the back post. Just couldn't get the purchase on the ball. Which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, and then I felt Mulgrew really should have put it back to Met if he could have done. Went for the shot, didn't he?
Yeah. Jake Hudson into Jack Hassan. They're just expanding the court Teesside still, making it as big as possible. Ooh. Yeah, Paul Yates awards a 2-on-1, saying there was millimetres in it. They were very close to one another. And this will be interesting. We've highlighted Jamil Khan's dead ball skills, but this is very central. Into the 180, fired into the box. Looking for Thomas Met, the secondary effort, blocked by Jake Hudson. Everything is just very reactive. As Jake Hudson is going to advance up the court, tries to feint Isaac Murray. He's a little bit too wise to that opportunity.
So to our earlier point, what do Altrincham do? It's good to see Hudson up, isn't it? They're playing as they would have played.
Yeah, absolutely. For some teams, going down to 3 isn't a massive detriment to how they set up, because a lot of teams will set up with a high and wide winger that's isolated for the majority of the game. Of course, it has a negative effect in terms of them overloads and productivity in the final third, but Oscar Mulgrew just guides it up the court. Joey Levine now.
Great ball handling there.
I'd like to have seen Joey Levine go out to the right-hand side.
I wonder if the roll of the ball made him keep
Yeah,
it.
very much.
Do you know the story behind his wheels? They look like a completely custom set. I've never seen
I've seen
like that.
No, I think I have seen others with similar wheels. The problem with those is the tyres are so incredibly thin that I think the prevalence of punctures is much greater. We've seen players in the past play with the big alloys.
So he's got if you can't see it on the stream, he's got a spokeless set of wheels that are just solid steel frame with a very thin rubber outer. Whereas all the other 6 players on the pitch have got the same tyre.
Jamil Khan. They use Oscar Mulgrew as that screen, but at any given time he can engage it at the first phase. Joey Levine comes over to take.
Looks like there's a sense of frustration creeping into Teesside Steel.
They certainly haven't had it all their own way since they've gone down to 3 players, Altrincham. I think they would have expected to really shift a gear and start to get that goal accumulation up, but if anything, they looked better against 4 than they do 3.
Yeah.
Jake Hudson to take. This is where there's danger, but also opportunity. Into Jack Hassan, blocked by the front bumper of Oscar Mulgrew.
So now Mulgrew just with Hassan in front of him and Levine a long way back, but Khan and Met for Teesside. As you said earlier, expanding the court as far as they could get, although Met's now dropped in. So if they can transition quickly, everyone's settled back now. So Murray on the ball to Khan, lets it go, and I think that's a kick into Teesside. Didn't touch Hassan, did it? Sorry, no, kick into Altrincham.
Likely to be taken by Joey Levine. 2 minutes left of this first half.
Ooh, big hit by Mulgrew.
No danger to Jake Hudson. But all the action of this first half was condensed into the first 5 minutes. Since that, relatively speaking, it's been fairly eventless.
Hudson up to Levine. Levine just taps it tamely to Mulgrew and now drives it at Hudson. Hudson looking to get across. There's a bit of a gap between him and Hudson and Hassan, but that's been sorted, and Khan hits wide.
Yeah, I think he was intending to pass it back to Oscar Mulgrew. Couldn't quite get the angle. But Thomas Met is always in that channel, diagonal to the central player. He's going to want to ensure his alertness, readiness for any potential balls.
He's a bit of a goal poacher in the best sense of the word, isn't he? He can be very patient.
He's the dubbed poacher. So, yeah, won't be involved in the majority of the game. That will be the 3 players around him. He has one singular objective, and that is to put the ball over the line. Won't ever get a great deal of assists.
So tough here now for Altrincham, having to line their only the 3 players up against the defensive wall. So if they can get to Met, he's got a chance. Good work reading by Hudson.
With that 2-goal cushion, with that player advantage, I would love to have seen Oscar Mulgrew go back to Isaac Murray on the halfway line there, and then look to bring it out to this left-hand side, occupied by Thomas Met. Goes all the way out. Does take a touch of Jack Hassan. He wanted to let it roll, but
he kind of had to touch it, really, didn't he?
Needed to cover that post. Was never going to go over the goal, but he wouldn't been able to readjust his position. Mr. Milchan, this is how they got their open up. Can they replicate? Goes over to Oscar Mulgrew. Just wide.
So clock's at 0. It's with the ref.
Hudson to take the whistle in the mouth of Paul Yates. He'll be glad he can have a little break from a really interesting opening 20 minutes. But I have to say, all of the decisions were spot on from the match officials. So thank you to all that are tuning in, to myself and Nick Woodward. Altrincham 1, Teesside still 3. We'll be back very shortly for the second half. Hello everyone and welcome back to the second half of Altrincham PFC against Teesside Steel PFC. The scoreline currently 3-1 in favour of the northeast side. A lot of controversy, a lot of drama in that first half. Hopefully more of the same in the second. If you're joining us now for the first time, Teesside Steel went one up very early on, and then without a second to set, Altrincham had found the equaliser, and then seconds after that, Mason Davies saw red leaving the court to prevent a clear goal scoring opportunity, and as per that rule, it's both a red card and a penalty, which was dispatched by Oscar Mulgrew. They found another in the half, so Altrincham down to 3. Teesside still in the ascendancy. They have made a change at the break. Daniel Holt on in place of Joey Levine. Once again joined on commentary by Nick Woodward.
Afternoon, Ryan. Lovely to be here. The Slater Gordon Championship. Had some good results so far this weekend, haven't we?
There is a lot of fantastic football being played at championship level. I mean, if we just reference the current score on Court A, West Bromwich Albion Baggies on track to register their biggest win of the season, currently 4-0 up against GBG Saracens. We've had shocks, we've had upsets, we've had some very impressive performances, and we're not even halfway through game week 2. Isaac Murray with the goal kick, intercepted by Daniel Holt, trying to push it up the court.
So as we had all that controversy, and then Altrincham in a way shrugged it off and played the game they could with 3 players. So they've held it since that red card and the penalty.
Yeah, exactly. Jamil Khan got their third after 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. So I mean, they had more than half of that first 20 minutes. Yeah. It wasn't all firefighting. They had some success. They had some advancements up the court. That's disappointing. The small opportunities they get like that, they're going to want to be a little bit more clinical.
And we were saying earlier, Altrincham probably comfortable in terms of not being in the relegation scrap or playoff places, but unlikely to threaten the top of the table either.
Yeah, exactly.
So a free hit for them for this, you know, with things falling the way they have.
Exactly that. There's very little pressure on Altrincham. That doesn't mean they'll be complacent. They'll accept that title. They'll want to go and take points against any and every team they play. They've got an elite mentality. They probably just don't have the experience, the know-how yet to be forced into those top brackets. Both of these teams were in the draw for the John Good Group WFA Cup yesterday afternoon. Altrincham have got a home tie against championship rivals Leeds Dynamos. That'll be a fantastic game. Teesside Steel will travel away to Manchester City.
Oh, great passage of play there, Teesside. Ball across to Khan, couldn't connect. Just if we look at the seam setup here, so this is a goal kick. We were talking earlier about Thomas Metz's positioning. He's behind the keeper.
Yeah, he is.
And they've made the court so big, the Teesside, haven't they?
Yeah, I think Teesside's still fairly unique in their utilisation of their fourth player. That fourth player being Thomas Metz. I think there's clearly a tactic. There clearly is instructions around him in his game. They want him to be instinctive one-touch finishing.
Almost. I mean, it's a bit of a comparison, but almost like Haaland, where they go, we don't care if you don't touch it for most of the match.
Yeah.
But when you do touch it, put it in, please.
That's disappointed. Daniel Holt just drawn into the action. That's the clearest 2-on-1 you're likely to see. Advantage played. I think even beyond Haaland, I think he's just they don't want him to have any involvement at all. He's almost in like a 3x3 metre square box that he's not allowed to leave in that top corner.
No defensive duties
Nothing,
at all.
not even anything in terms of creativity, support, nothing in the way of passing.
Now here we've got that setup where all three Altrincham players have to be on the near post.
Right on it's right on the edge of the box, which obviously presents somewhat of a channel with the 3 in the box rule, preventing that third defender, limiting the space. And Thomas Met is always the other side of it, ready to capitalise. Oscar Mulgrew.
Now, I'm pretty certain Thomas Met got the first goal of the season for the championship that we did all those years ago. He was playing for Teesside main team then, was it?
No, I don't believe. I think he was present in a playoff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I remember having to count the votes.
Oh, goal of the season.
Goal of the season.
Yes, I'm with you now.
Probably before COVID.
Yeah, I would love to know how many of those votes came from Thomas Met himself.
Well, we were meant to have a checks and balances.
Yeah, we've since looked to put a few parameters up and a few guidelines around award voting. And on that topic, at the conclusion of Game Week 2, we will be conducting our Swizzles Awards, where you can vote on your Player of the Weekend, Unsung Hero of the Weekend, Team of the Weekend, and Fantasy Team of the Weekend.
It's great to have Swizzles on board, sponsoring those.
Very much so.
Game Week to titles, isn't it? Title the right word?
Mason Davies was present in the Fantasy Team of the Weekend for Game Week 1. So, with that red card and the suspension that will follow, he'll have to have a real influence tomorrow if he's to be in consideration.
Accolade, that's the word I was after, not title. Yeah, it's great that they're running now. So, Altrincham, I mean, more of the play with Teesside, but Altrincham holding their own.
They are. Jake Hudson trying to gain some territory up the court.
So all 3 Altrincham players, Holt's not moving at all from his box. But
no, I think they're playing like a 1 and 2 system that when they're in attack, they'll have 2 players going forward. I'd like to have seen Jack Hassan push that back to Jake Hudson with his front bumper.
Looked like he was caught in 2 minds.
Yeah, and that moment's hesitation, it affects so many players, kills all momentum. But the speed, the pace, the momentum of our National League, the Championship, the Premiership is so great that it catches so many players out, that moment's hesitation.
Yeah, the complete opposite with the Premiership Teesside player Ed Common, don't you? He'd have appeared to do the same, and yet he'd have still been able to make the choice of shoot or pass at the last minute.
I'm convinced Ed Common sees the sport in slow motion. He is one of every and any intention he has seems to come off.
Now there must be, assume there's some training together. There must be some trickle down of Ed's skills or thought processes.
They train together.
To this team, mustn't they?
They train together, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we've seen this almost meteoric rise of Teesside Steel in the Championship. The fact that they went 20+ games unbeaten. I think they're still on that unbeaten run that started in Game Week 1 of the 24-25 campaign, and that. There's no coincidence that's coincided them training and contributing alongside the Teesside team in the Premiership. So players like Thomas Met, Oscar Mulgrew can learn off the Tyler Reeves, the Ed Commons, the Greg Baxters.
20 games without a loss.
Longer.
You say? Wow.
Longer.
Is that the longest run in?
Yeah, in the National League.
And yet, ostensibly they don't look a defensive team, do they?
Well, I think the reason why if I was to say that a team that's disappointing. I think it's a sensible decision. However, had he engaged that with all the power, it would have ricocheted straight off the front bumper of Oscar Mulgrew. But if I said to you, Teesside Steel last season went unbeaten, you're thinking, without context of what this division is, you'd be like, oh, they're a Premiership team. They got automatic promotion. Yeah. The draw column killed them last season in terms of their momentum, their point accumulation, and their big task of this season is turning those fine margins, those draws, into wins. Already we've seen them fall into that similar sort of rut.
Seems to be a problem, sorry Ryan, with Khan's chair. Yeah. He's signalling he's unhappy with it, but
Teesside still have fallen into that similar rut in this season. They dropped points that were draws against Manchester City, Manchester United, to mention two. So I wonder if player selection, squad size will play negatively into their end outcome. Just 4 players present in game week 2.
Are they missing anyone?
Charlie Connolly is not present. Luke Heenan is not present. I'm not overly sure if Luke Heenan is registered on for 25-26.
Charlie Connolly would have been a fixture in previous seasons, wouldn't he?
Ricochets to Thomas Met. He needs to stay in reverse there. Dare I say it, as the curse of the commentator is very prevalent with my calling of games, I would say Altrincham have been the better of the two sides in this second half.
I mean, the time's ticking away, but if they sneak a goal, could get a bit panicky.
Yeah.
I think it was 3-1 with 15 minutes to play in the first half, wasn't it? And we'd written it off.
The thing is with this Teesside Steel squad is, I think they're feeling the weight of expectation now.
Right. Whereas
in seasons gone by, they've never been associated with that title race.
Yeah.
Now, because of that unbeaten run, because of what they did in 24-25, for many people, they are title favourites, or were title favourites prior to the season beginning. And that can play on their minds, on their intentions, on their decision making.
I can't remember where you put them in your
top
podcast. Yeah.
I had them finish in top of the division, one above Nottinghamshire. So,
wow.
And that was the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you're going into a season where people expect you to excel in every game, and you dip below that, what that can do for confidence is massive. As Jake Hudson.
So at this stage, Holt has pushed up, so they've got all 3 Altrincham players pushed up.
This is where it's either going to be 3-2 or 4-1, because they're being incredibly brave here. But I love it.
And at this stage, 2 of the Teesside players are beyond the last man for Altrincham, although Dan Holt's now pushed back.
For Altrincham, if it's 4-1, if it's 3-1, it doesn't make a great deal of difference. But if it's 3-2, however, that is a very good return on what has been a game that hasn't gone their way in terms of luck, in terms of referee decisions. It's a beautiful pass, and it just wide of the left-hand post.
That'll lift their spirits.
That was beautiful from Jake Hudson.
And just the 2 of them working that together. Holt had dropped off after the previous run of play. They're swapping. So Murray's putting on an outfield shirt. Not Thomas Met. Mulgrew in goal. It's against the laws of football for Met to go in goal, isn't it? After our previous conversations.
I think they stick him in the centre now.
Right.
He can be that true creator. No, I think that they realise that something needs a little bit of a change. Momentum is not in their favour, and whilst you would say that their 3 points is at no real risk,
still 5 left.
Yeah, exactly that. So maybe just trialling and testing. I've always been a big advocate for Isaac Murray being more involved in the attacking areas of the court. But it looks like he's playing in the centre, so this is fascinating. I've watched him for many years, and if and when he is used higher up the court, it tends to be in a wide wing position. So if he is playing in the centre,
so chance for Altrincham again. Holt stayed deep. Hudson only has Hassan to pass to. Hassan, Murray for Teesside, taking it away from Hassan, but it's gone out.
Altrincham have been brilliant in this second half. If you apply all the context, they will be really happy. I did wander over to them at the half-time break just to say, take the red card out your mind, just be compact, be composed, and try and take your moment. And Jake Hudson, is the most offensive certainly now, has had very little to do. Teesside still just haven't created anything in this second half.
To your earlier point, Drawmeisters not quite able to create and score, but solid at the back.
Yeah.
Now, of course, at the moment they're 3-1 up. Early in the first half, Davis was sent off for leaving the pitch and stopping a goal-scoring opportunity.
Jack Hassan looking to engage that, but quickly closed down by Isaac Murray. This is where Altrincham are trying to adopt that high press, condense them into this final third. There's 3 Teesside Steel players surrounding Jack Hassan there. Not very unique. Thomas Met being drawn into the action. This is an opportunity. I'd like to see him just take his time a little bit more. Just seems needlessly rushed.
Do you think they're feeling the pressure of the clock now?
I don't know. There's no reason to feel pressure.
They were so composed earlier, weren't they?
No one's expecting them to come and get anything from this game at this juncture. But had Jack Hassan just communicated his intentions with his teammates, I think we would have seen a far better opportunity than what we did. That's really disappointing. And what was a really promising chance now turns into a Teesside Steel set piece high up the court. And now Isaac Murray, I suspect, will be the intended target. Doesn't get the connection from Jamil Khan, which isn't a statement I say too often. But Jake Hudson's been brilliant. For me, the standout for Altrincham. Both.
He seemed almost liberated when it went down to 3, didn't he? Because he had no choice but to play out.
Yeah. And he's a strong player. Forces it into the Teesside Steel half. That's a little bit too forceful from Isaac Murray there. Needs to be careful. Absolutely the correct decision from Paul Yates. A little bit of inexperience shown from the typical goalkeeper. I'd like to see them just take their time. It looks a little bit rushed, and I'd like to just see them communicate with one another.
3-on-1 for Teesside.
No direction on that front bumper. Pick off from Jake Hudson.
Everyone's set back now. Met still the highest player on the pitch, but coming backwards. Less than 2 minutes.
I'm sure coaches and players of Altrincham will watch this back. I would encourage you to work on the set pieces, because you get some into some fantastic areas, but just looks like you're a little bit out of ideas. And now there's a big open goal for Jamil Khan. Couldn't get the timing or connection. Saying that, I think Jake Hudson had just about closed the angle in time.
Even if he wasn't going to reach it, he was putting Khan off, wasn't he? He unsettled him there.
And we are into
you can see Khan looks disappointed he didn't make contact.
Yeah, I don't that's not necessarily a bad thing. It shows the standards he holds himself to, but he has been a key driver in them securing this 3 points, a goal and an assist to his name. Not a bad return.
So doesn't actually change their position in the table, does it? Yeah, it must do. I think maybe my data's not refreshed.
Tips Teesside still up to 4th. 1 point and 1 position behind Norwich.
So it keeps them well in the hunt, actually.
Well, should they win their game in hand over current league leaders Villa Rockets, they will leapfrog them. But the big question is Nottinghamshire. They have played a game fewer and sit a point above them. So
clock's at 0 now. It's with the ref. He's looking at his watch.
Yeah, I want to say I want to congratulate Altrincham on a really
getting them right up here.
Compact.
There's only Thomas Met in Altringham's half.
Yeah, I want to congratulate Altrincham. It's been a great performance for them, all circumstances considered, and I hope they'll take positives from this. Next up against GBG Saracens, they'll be able to bring Joey Levine in, but use the positives from this one to hopefully go and get yourself 3 points. Teesside still have done exactly what they needed to. They can't influence the decisions made by the officials. They just need to go get the points, get the goals, and that's exactly what they've done. And they'll take confidence into the rest of their weekend.
So quite a remarkable half, really, from Altrincham in this Slater Gordon Championship. They're keeping it to 0-0 with a man down, losing a man in the first half for sure. A red card.
And that is full time. Teesside still come away with the 3 points, which sets up a really interesting Sunday for them. They play Baggies before what may be a top of the table clash against Nottinghamshire. Thank you to all that have tuned in, to myself and Nick Woodward. Next up on Court B, Nottinghamshire take on Nottingham Forest.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you for watching this stream powered by MK Batteries.